everyone, it's Kathy Zilski. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I've got a simple, well actually it's not super simple, but it's simple enough. How's that? Sound good? Okay. It involves masking, and masking is something kind of new to me that I am really embracing because I feel like it's card magic. I really do. I really do. So let's get started. Today I'm working with this really charming You're So Lovely hero art set. And I didn't have the dies, which is part of the reason why I came up with the idea to just layer some things with masking. Plus I have this Rounded Rectangles Infinity die set from Hero Arts, and I love it. I think it's got like 16 dies and rounded corners. Let's bring them back, people. I don't think they ever left. I've got Distress Oxide inks in my favorite colors and these Jumbo Sponge Daubers, which I have just recently started using, and they're really helping me just kind of do better blending. I've got some Neenah Solar White 110-pound cardstock and two different masking papers, one from inkadinkado, say that 3 times fast, and one from Simon. I'm using the Simon to create a mask, and I've cut this Simon masking paper to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 because this is going to go right down over my card panel. So I've got that centered, and I'm going to run it through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cut machine. And now I can take that off and prepare the mask. I'm probably going to keep all the things I cut out in my mask paper folder, just because you never know when you might need a rectangle. So I'm going to peel the backing off, and this is a little trick that I've done for myself, which you're going to see how well it works. I put the backing face up, okay? I'm facing the sticky side up. The problem is I couldn't get it to not stick. Stop. Dip. Yeah, I can't get it to not stick. But once I get it to just lay there beautifully, and I'm sure there's a tip to this that I don't know of, but bear with me. Then I can just line up my edge there of my card base, the panel, not the base. Smooth it down so that now it's pretty well lined up. And I am going to be die cutting this panel anyway, but I just wanted to get it to be pretty much right where it needs to be. So again, probably a faster way to do that, but I like to flip it up and stick it down. So let's speed it up here. Now I'm using a handful of colors here. These are kind of the colors in Distress Oxide that I go to time and again. So I load up my little dauber, dab some off, and then start the blend. Now I'm going to admit I am not the world's best ink blender. I keep trying, and I'm not going to give up because one of these days I am going to have a light hand. But I will say this, I think these daubers, I like the feel in my hand, right? I mean, my hand might look really kind of like a claw when I'm doing this. Might look a little awkward, but I really do like these daubers. And apparently you can also put them in your dishwasher if you really want to give them a good clean, and I think that's kind of cool. I got these from Gina K Designs, her store, and yeah, I'm really loving them. Again, still don't have the light hand that I see out there in YouTube land, but doesn't mean it's not going to happen for me someday. I still have hope. Hope for the light blend. But I will say this. I'm just playing with this and getting it kind of how I want it to look. And these Distress Oxide inks, if you haven't tried them, I mean, especially speaking as a new ink blender, they really are lovely, and they really are fun to play with. They're easier to blend, in my opinion, than some of the other inks I've tried to blend. But again, it could be user error. Now I'm going to put just a few little blotches of water here, just tap, 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 using that little distress sprayer. And the reason I take it out is I've seen people do it. So you know what? I'm going to do what I see done out there on the YouTube. And I probably got too big of blotches on this one. So note to self, just be careful, because your blotches, you don't know where they're going to go. You don't know. But now it's time to take the masking paper off. And yes, I'm speeding this up because I do this so slowly. And I will tell you this, I should have waited until everything was dry, because where the masking paper was, it kind of stuck to my paper. And you can kind of see that right there. But the nice thing is it rubs off pretty easily. And not only that, I just use I have this adhesive remover that I love. It just rubs it right off. Now we're ready to go. So I'm using the inkadinkado masking paper, and for these image masks, I've stamped 3 images here from the set, and I'm going to go ahead and cut them out. I think I only need 2 of them, but I stamped 3 just because I like the number 3. But I'm going to cut these masks out, and I like to start with simple images for masking. So this is one I can handle. I don't have the best scissors skills on the planet, but I can handle simple cuts like that. All right. Now that this panel's dry, I am going to cut a dotted rectangle using my Spellbinders Platinum 6 machine. This is a new machine for me. And unfortunately, I don't have my little rubber mat underneath my cutting mat, so everything started to slide, and I just want you to know everything's okay. It's okay, because it's going to cut beautifully. And this is one of my favorite dies. I have 4 different little dotted and stitched dies. They're all from Lawn Fawn, and I love this tiny dot. It's just gorgeous. It's my favorite. I go to it a lot. Now it's time to start stamping on the panel. I'm gonna get this lined up, and I'm using my MISTI tool because, again, if you don't know about the MISTI, which I think everybody does by now, I really do. I love that you can just restamp in the same place. And for me, especially with something like any ink application, this is really important because I don't have what I call free range stamp skills. It's really hard for me to take like a clear block and just start stamping. It's going to be a hot mess, trust me. The MISTI makes things possible. Now, I've actually let this dry a little bit because the Distress ink does have that pigment quality. And as soon as yep, there you go, Kath. There you go. So I'm lining up my mask so I can continue stamping. But I did give it about, I don't know, about 10 minutes to dry. I'm getting the second flower there. And then I'm just going to repeat and stamp that down. And again, I'll have all the colors that I'm using. Everything will be listed below. But I'm just going to make the MISTI work for me. So put that down, see what it looks like. Yeah, I kind of missed in the middle there, and I love that I can restamp it. So I'm giving that a better press this time. Okay. Clean that off. And by the way, my stamp chamois, let's just say it's well loved. I love that thing. And now I'm going to move on to the next color. Now, I wish that I had the Squeezed Lemonade from Tim Holtz. I don't. That's a new color. I think the Fossilized Amber was probably a little darker than I wanted it to be. But nonetheless, you know what? You work with what you have, people. And so I'm going to place that flower for the 3rd flower here and go ahead and stamp that out with the Fossilized Amber. But I think in a way it works because I did go dark on my background, darker than I wanted to. And I'll actually show you at the end of this video another card I did that gave me the idea to do this card. So that is stamped down. I'm going to let that sit there for a minute, and I'm going to get the stem. And I'm going to leave the mask in place, line up that stem right under the flower because I want that little stem to seem like it's behind the other flower. And I think masking is so cool. This is not stuff that I knew when I first started stamping. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos and seen how people use masks. I think this is possibly the first video I've done with any masking, and I just think it's so cool. Oh, one thing I do, when I clean a stamp that I'm going to use again and I use the stamp chamois, I'll just take a piece of like scrap paper just to kind of daub it off because I don't want to put a wet stamp down on something with Distress Oxide. I just figure let's just, dry it, make it good. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to do that again right there. All right, get the liquid off. And now I'm just stamping the remaining stems, lining them up with the base of the flowers. And you can see the magic of masking is truly, well, it's truly magic. All right. One more and get a nice impression. And that's the Twisted Citron. Again, just using all the colors that I used on the background to stamp with. The Distress Oxides stamp beautifully too, by the way. I really, really am impressed with them. Now I'm going to use the Have a Beautiful Day sentiment from this set. And I'm just going to stamp it right smack dab in the middle. I'm getting that lined up again with my MISTI tool. And I'm going to use my Magic Powder Embossing to just dab that on, especially because of, the Distress Oxides. I don't want anything sticking, but I am using VersaFine and some clear ultra fine embossing powder from Hero Arts. And what this will do, because that VersaFine stays wet, it clings to the VersaFine, and then when I heat this up, it gives it a raised look. And I love that. I learned this from Jennifer McGuire. I didn't know you could use embossing in this way, and I love just that subtle bit of texture that it adds. Now here's where I couldn't decide. Do I want to use Gina K's Sweet Corn or my Simon Fog? And I decided to go with Gina K Sweet Corn. I love this yellow. It's soft, but yet it just has this tone, and I thought it worked really nicely with the boldness of this card. So I'm not popping this up or anything. I'm just doing the Tombow mono adhesive right on the card, kind of give that a good press down, because the cardstock warped a little bit. And now I'm going to take 3 different Nuvo crystal drops to add centers to my flowers. And in the name of all the things, I've been collecting the drops, people. So I've got a whole plethora of them. But I always like to squeeze a little out first before I go in and actually place it down, because I've had too many accidents with putting the drops and squeezing them out and it not being a nice little perfect blobby circle. So yeah. And I think the yellows here, there's a bit of a mismatch, but the thing that I like about this, the Tonic yellow, it brightens it up. It really matches with the Sweet Corn really nicely, and there you go. But I want to show you the panel that I did this was the first panel I did without masking those flowers, and look at how much lighter it turned out. I think that's what's so crazy, is that you can do something and try to repeat it, and who knows what's going to happen. But I hope this inspires you to try a little masking and stamping, because believe me, I'm going to keep trying, people. I have much to learn.